Hello and welcome to GrindslimeTV with me, your host Aaron. And today we're getting crusty with it. Oh yes, we're heading over to the British Isles where I live, so I haven't got that far to travel at all, because we're talking about Doom and their 1996 record, Rush Hour of the Gods. Absolute banger. If you're not familiar with Doom, they were pretty much one of the first bands sort of following the footsteps of Discharge in the late 80s. You know, that sort of where hardcore punk was sort of kicking off, but it became like what was known as crust punk. You know, so they started introducing more sort of metal elements, like particularly extreme metal elements into the mix. You know, like a lot of those bands back then were, like the D beat came from Discharge. You know, it's what I mean, the Discharge beat, and you know, Blast eventually came into it, and you know, Doom were all about that. So these guys were pretty much one of the like the pioneers of one of the other genres that was pretty much one of the precursors to grindcore. So if you don't like this kind of music or this band, that's absolutely fine, but you will respect them. I'm only teasing. You do what you want. I don't care. But this is definitely their album where they get a bit more metal oriented, I think. More so than the older stuff. Like the old stuff is still great. I love it. It's probably still my favourite stuff because I just love that sort of, you know, over the top DIY sound. But this is by no means an overly polished record. Like it is, according to the liner notes, like they recorded in a right little shithole that was about to get flattened, and there it is all there. And you get some nice, cool little pictures. Got their track listing on the back of their van and whatnot, and they all are doing their thing. So really cool, but it definitely brings in. When I say technical riffs, I don't mean like, you know, sort of stuff, but just a lot more sort of palm muted into sort of power chord sort of riffage going on. You know, it's not just a lot of strumming or really fast sort of attacking like it was on the older stuff. This definitely has more sort of definitely stronger sort of song structures to it. The riffs are a bit more laid out and a bit more thought out as well, you know. So no, definitely really cool, a really good album. Depending on what version you get, if you get the normal version, it's about half-hour long, which is pretty much perfect with 11 tracks. But I've got the extended version, which also has the 10-inch of songs from their split with a band called CRUSTY, who they're a band I've heard the name knocking around from like zines and stuff, but I've still not checked them out, and I probably should. It sounds like the sort of thing I'd enjoy. Plus, they're a classic band, you know. But like we said before, you know, it's always nice to still be introduced to classic bands later on, you know. So I think it's cool. I'm looking forward to checking them out, but I might save them for when I'm really in that sort of headspace. Inside the booklet, you get a whole bunch of photos for everything, and also each song has its own little sort of extra paragraph, like a sort of philosophy behind each song, maybe like sort of afterthoughts that you can like read after the song or something, just to sort of really tie it up. Now, some people could argue, like, if you've got to explain your song, you've probably got shit lyrics, and some people could make that argument for sure, but I don't think that's really the point either. I think like you get the very violent kind of almost diatribe type lyrics, not Napalm Death diatribe by any fucking stretch of the imagination. Fuck that. No, but very, you know, they're angry lyrics. The young man's expressing himself, but it just comes with like little sort of afterthoughts, like, you know, like this, the song Deathlock, and this that they say like unable to express what's deep inside. I'm alone, a vacuum, hollow mind. And then underneath, like they've got just the whole lyrics, but then underneath they've got a thing that like, expressing one's real thoughts is near impossible. It's much easier to say nothing, etc., etc. You know, like I say, they're like a little sort of philosophy behind it, so pretty cool. And each one comes with its own little art piece, which I think is really cool as well, really nice. So they really did like fill this thing out. So I think it's quite cool because you don't really see that kind of thing a lot, and you know, so you get all this other shit going on. So no, really cool, and that's that throughout. I mean, this is a good lot. I think it's like a 16-page booklet. It might even be more than that, but yeah, big old beast. And there's just pictures, lyrics, philosophies, liner notes, stuff like that, you know. And it comes complete with a Hawkwind cover for their song Death Trap. So look at that. All So all told, with the extra tracks, you get 42 minutes worth of music. So not bad going for 15 songs in total. I like it. I like it. Whole thing's up on YouTube. I believe it's on Spotify as well. I've just been spinning this bad boy. You know how that goes. Artwork on the back's pretty cool too. Like with his crucifix there. Look, you got the band underneath doing stuff. But yeah, really cool record. There's reeks of just DIY kind of attitude. Like I say, that the production's better than their other stuff they've put out. I mean, they've got a bunch of new records out, but I don't think I've heard any of them. I think I've sort of been wary to tread those particular waters, but maybe I'll check them out soon. You know, like I say, when I'm in the proper mood for it. But an album like this, you can just throw on and just have yourself a good old time. It's fast, it's aggressive, it's got some great riffs on there. You know, and like I say, the riffs are plenty on this one. It's not just straight up like fret attacks or anything. It's just they still have their moments where they get really nice and crusty, which you would expect, you know, being a crust band. But like I mentioned, you do get that extra little sort of an extra nudge of metal in there. So even if you're completely new to this band and you're a metalhead, this could be a good place to start. But yeah, can't go wrong with this one. You guys let me know what you think. And if you've heard the band Crest, are they worth me checking out? Let me know. And what are some other bands like that to check out too? I'm not the biggest, like I love like some crust and hardcore and stuff, but I'm not as in tune to it as I'm with like grindcore and death metal and stuff. So, you know, feel free to throw in a load of stuff like that, because all I really know is like, you know, like Doom or Discharge, you know, those sort of bigger ones. That's that sort of era, and I'm sort of picking up on a lot more sort of underground stuff as we go. But yeah, just help a brother out, as it were. So let me know what you think, and check out Rush Out of the Gods by Doom. It's fantastic, and I'll check you all later. Have a good one.